students, I'm Aanchal Sharma, your educator for paper 1. We have been discussing questions related to environment and the concepts also related to that question. Today also I have few set of questions. Let us discuss the questions and the answer with the explanations. So given below are two statements that are given to you. So the first statement, it says that the small amount of the atmospheric nitrogen dioxide, that is NO2, is produced from the polluting sources. Then the statement 2 says that most of the atmospheric NO2 is produced due to the photochemical reactions in the atmosphere. Which is the correct statement? Are these two statements, both of these are correct? Is first correct, second incorrect? What would be the correct answer? So let us see the right answer. That is A, which means that both the statements are correct. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Let us read the statements and then we'll see the explanation. So the small amount of atmospheric nitrogen dioxide is produced from the polluting sources. Then most of the atmospheric NO2 is produced due to the photochemical reactions in the atmosphere. So let us see the explanations. So the statement first says that yes, there is a small amount of atmospheric nitrogen that is produced, but most of the amount of nitrogen dioxide that we have, that is produced from the photochemical reactions that we have. So the NO2 is an intermediate and an industrial synthesized acid that is produced. So it is an intermediary that is being used for the synthesis of this nitric acid. So for the manufacturing of this nitric acid, there is a synthesis process and then we see that the NO2 is released. It is largely used in the production of the fertilizers also, and the high temperature, it is reddish brown in color, right? So it is a reddish brown color gas and it can be fatal when you directly consume it in a larger quantity, right? So we see that there is a few amounts of nitrogen dioxide that is present in the atmosphere. Why? Because the number of sources is fairly less. Also, there is, where do you find this NO2? You find it in the industrial synthesis of the nitric acid. So the first statement is correct. Then comes the second statement. So most of the atmospheric NO2 is produced how? So whatever is produced in the atmosphere, whatever amount of NO2 is produced in the atmosphere, the maximum amount of that NO2 is produced because of the photochemical reactions in the atmosphere. Now this is very typical and you should know this statement, and if you don't know it till now, then you should write it in your notes. This is a very typical statement that I'm going to read, right? So first of all, what is this chemical reactions? Photochemical reaction, that would be clear. And then NO2 is produced during that reaction. These are the 2 points that you will gain after reading this statement. So the nitrogen dioxide, that is NO2, present in the air is known to be photochemically active due to the presence of the unpaired electrons that are present in it. So there are always some unpaired electrons that are present in the NO2 that is present in the atmosphere, and it is known as photochemically active. It is called as photochemically active. Why? Because it contains these unpaired, uncharged electrons that are always there. So NO2 molecule reaches the higher level of energy when it is absorbed or when it absorbs a photon of the light energy. So there is always some UV rays and there are electrons present in the nitrogen. So what will happen? They will absorb each other, and because of which we will have this photochemical reaction. So the level of energy when it absorbs a photon of the energy of the light with the energy which converts the ground state molecule to electronically excited state molecule. So we all know that there are electrons and protons, and when they combine with each other, there is an electronically state charged molecule that is produced. NO2, ozone and PAN show what? When combined together, they'll show these photochemical reactions and the photochemical smog is formed. So here from this reaction, you will find smog that is produced, right? So I would repeat once again. These are the two statements. The first statement says that yes, there is a harmful gas like the atmospheric nitrogen dioxide and it is produced in the atmosphere. So the first statement becomes correct. it is also produced when there is industrial synthesis of the nitric acids. This is one source from where you can get this oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and it is largely produced in the it is largely used in the production of fertilizers as well. At high temperatures, what is the color? Like in the previous class, we discussed that sulfur dioxide is colorless, but it has a foul smell. So what is basic category of this nitrogen dioxide? So at high temperatures, it is reddish brown color, right? And of course, it is a very fatal gas if you inhale it for a longer period of time. Then we discussed that yes, most of this nitrogen dioxide is produced during this photochemical reaction that is happening. So there are electrons that are unpaired that are present in the nitrogen, and what is happening because of these photochemical reaction, that means in nitrogen you add UV rays, there is energy added to it, there are protons added to it, and because of this there is always a photochemical reaction, and hence we can say that most of the atmospheric NO2 is produced due to the photochemical reaction in the atmosphere. And this photochemical reaction will convert into what? It will convert into smog, right? So this was the first question. Then comes the second question. Which of the following waterborne diseases may be caused by virus, bacteria and protozoa? So is it cholera, hepatitis, diarrhea or typhoid? So which is this disease? Which is this waterborne disease that may be caused by the virus, bacteria or by protozoa? So the right answer is diarrhea, right? So diarrhea is a type of disease that can be caused, and it is a waterborne disease that can be caused by virus, or it can be caused by bacteria, or it can be caused by protozoa also. The main symptoms of diarrhea is that you will frequently have loose watery stools, or there will be a pressuring urge to have a bowel movement. You will be having stomach aches. Also, the most common cause of this acute and persistent diarrhea is because of the infections that travel in your body, right? So it is not always it is not always that it is virus that can cause diarrhea, but this is a type of waterborne disease that can cause that can be caused because of pathogens like your virus, bacteria and protozoa, all of these three, right? So I hope this you have understood. Then comes another question. Which of the following types of these power plants provide electricity consistently running 24 hours per day, 7 days a week? So which is this type of energy that you can produce 24 hours per day and 7 days a week? Which type of power plant will be active forever, right? So is it geothermal, is it social, is it hydro or is it wind energy? So what would be the correct answer? So do you think wind energy would be useful or would be adequate for each and every seasons? So do you think that at every level you can have these types of windmills and you can produce energy? No, because there is definitely a good amount of wind needed, and it is not always possible to have those winds. Also, there are some of the limitations, like you need the wind currents to be coming from a particular speed. Also, this is one question that is a PYQ, and I want you to write in the comment section what should be the speed of the wind when it strikes to the windmill, windmill and the electricity is produced. So you have to write it in the comment section. If you don't know, you should Google it as well. Then there is hydropower. Also, hydropower generating electricity by water. Do you think it is always feasible and possible? And same goes for the solar energy also, which is this kind of energy that you can find always, right? 24 hours per day and of course 7 days per week. So the right answer is A, that is geothermal power plants. How? Let us read. And this explanation is important and it can be further asked in the papers also. So the geothermal power plants provide electricity, and this is consistently there for about 24 hours per day and 7 days a week, regardless of the weather conditions. The power output of the geothermal power plant is highly predicted and it is stable. So why is it so useful? Because it is highly predictable. First of all, you can predict it because you know that there are the nuclear energy being used and it is highly reactive, and you can produce a stable amount of energy and you can predict it as well. In the solar energy or in wind energy or even hydro, you cannot predict. There is no stability there. It depends on the weather conditions. The disadvantage of the geothermal power plant is also there, and it is that sometimes because of the earthquakes, it can get disrupted. So the disadvantage of the geothermal power plant location is restricted, and it is also, it has a triggering amount of risk whenever we have earthquakes there. So this is due to the alterations in the earth's structure, and as a result of constant digging also, there can be these kind of problems. So what is happening? There is nuclear energy, or there is this, we are generating electricity from this hot water that we have. So we all know that there will be presence of hot water under the earth, but because of this constant digging, there can be, shaking happening, or there can be earthquakes that happen, and because of this, you can have some amount of restrictions. Also, there is some locations, finding these locations can be some kinds of restrictions that can pop up. But as compared to the other types of energy that we have, this is the energy that you can use 24 hours because it is, or 7 days per week. Why? Because it is highly stable and it is highly predictable. So the nuclear power is the only energy that delivers the carbon-free, reliable energy 24 hours. And this word is very important. So it is providing you with carbon-free energy. It is highly reliable and you can get it for 24 hours a day. Along with wind, solar energy and energy storage, nuclear energy has a vital role because it will give you a carbon-free future. So what is carbon-free? There is no amount of carbon in the energy that is produced. So it is a carbon-free energy and you can get it at any point of time. There are some advantages also. What is this advantage? First of all, nuclear energy is carbon-free, it is reliable, and nuclear energy is very powerful. So we all know that why are we working towards this type of energy? Why? Because it is carbon-free and it is more reliable, and weather conditions don't limit it a lot. Also, it is very powerful in itself, right? So this is why geothermal was the correct answer. Another question, in agriculture regions, the groundwater can have significant concentrations of which pollutant? So which is this pollutant that can cause a lot of problem or a lot of pollution in the agricultural regions whenever we talk about the ground level water? So this is an agriculture region. Also, we are talking about the groundwater. So is it cadmium, is it lead, is it nitrate, or is it selenium? So what will be the correct answer? So let us see the answer. The right answer is C. That means it is lead. So it is nitrate, right? So let us see. Let us read it as well. So in agricultural regions, we see that there is this groundwater contamination that keeps on happening. So in agriculture areas, the groundwater can contain a significant concentration of this nitrate pollution. Why this nitrate pollutant can be there? Because we all know that there is nitrate and phosphate that is used for agriculture at a larger rate. And this is how agriculture runoffs also make water polluted as well. So we read about it in the previous classes also. When the pollutants are released on the earth's surface, they enter the groundwater, and this leads to groundwater pollution. So the pollution can result in what? It can have, you can have the plants destroyed or the land destroyed as well. So the pollution can result from workplace sanitation systems. It can be landfills. It can be wastage from the water treatment plants. It can be sewage leakages. It can be petrol filling stations, or it can be overuse of the fertilizers in agriculture. So basically, in this question, you should focus that what all are the two things that are actually used to make fertilizers, chemicals and pesticides. So you'll always find nitrate there, right? And you know that nitrate, because of leaching and because how, there is water penetrating also. So what will happen? There will be this excess amount of nitrate that will penetrate into the water, and that is how the groundwater will be polluted. So which is this one pollutant that will affect it will definitely be the nitrates, right? So therefore, the groundwater in the agricultural areas contain a significant amount of nitrate pollutants. But in the other areas also, there can be this nitrate problem or this pollutant that can affect the groundwater. It can be because of the sanitation systems. We use this in the workplaces. It can also be because of the landfills. It can be because of the poor sewage system or breakages in the poor sewage system, or the water sewage or the water waste treatment plants are not working properly, petrol filling stations, or the overuse of the fertilizers, as I told you, right? So then how is cadmium being used? So this is the chemical element that has a symbol of Cd, and the atomic number is 48, and it is highly reactive as well, but it is not found in the Earth's surface here. Then lead, that is a naturally occurring toxic metal that is found in the Earth's crust, and we all know it. And we also read about lead, that how containing or consuming a lot of lead can cause what? It can cause damage to the nervous system. It is widespread, and it is basically an environmental pollutant that can cause problem when humans and the public are exposed to it, right? So there are problems like dizziness, unconsciousness, and even death, as we saw in the previous video. Also, there are some central nervous system problems that can occur, or there can be brain damages, right? Then we have the selenium, and this is a toxic element that is highly concentrated in nature, and it is not only harmful to the environment but also to the human health. It can cause problems like thyroid disorders, or it can cause infections, or it can cause high blood pressure or swelling in the body. So these are the few problems that can be seen. So thyroid disorders, vital infections, then there can be blood pressures or swelling that can cause a lot of problem, right? Then there is another question, and this is a question that is for the homework as well, because I want you to, or do you want to solve this question? Let's solve it in the class only. So which of the following greenhouse gases were the target gas whose emission was to be covered under the first commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol? So we all have discussed Kyoto Protocol in greater detail, and we know that there are two commitment periods. Also, you should know that the second commitment period started in where it started in Doha. Hence it is called as the Doha Amendment, right? So these are the few facts that we discussed. Also, we discussed how important this Kyoto Protocol was for us. How is it different from the UNFCCC? It came under the UNFCCC, but the objectives are very clear here. So here in the first commitment period, what are the few gases, what are the few greenhouse gases that we are talking that we have to eliminate all of these gases? So we have SO2, we have CO2, we have N2O, we have NH3, and we have methane, that is CH4. So what would be the correct answer? Okay, so the correct answer is C, and let us read it. First of all, let us mark C, that means B, C and E. That means B, C and E is the right answer. Also, it was very easy to guess as well, because yes, we all know that CO2 would be there. This is the first gas that we are definitely going to talk about when we are discussing the greenhouse gases. Then NO2 is highly reactive as well, and methane is also a gas that is very much prevalent and causes a lot of problem. Now let us first read. So the greenhouse gases are basically the atmospheric gases that absorb and emit the radiation within this thermal inference range, thereby contributing to the greenhouse effect. So this greenhouse effect, as we know, that because of that green cloth, all whatever is present in that room, so there is this glass room, and then you have plants in it. And what is this greenhouse effect? That it becomes warmer, right? So same goes for the earth as well. Because of this presence of these gases, the earth becomes warmer in itself. And this is how we see the greenhouse effect. So there are many different greenhouse gases that are produced, and this is the result of what? This is the result of anthropogenic activities, or you can call them as human activities. What all are these gases? These are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. Then we have HFCs, that is the hydrofluorocarbons. Then we have some perfluorocarbons, and you don't have to read all of them or learn, but you can learn we have some perfluorocarbons. Then all of these gases that we have, so all of these gases that we discussed, so this carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and hydrogen fluoroxide, fluorochlorocarbons, and the perfluorocarbons are few greenhouse gases that are creating a lot of problem, and it was advisable to limit them, right? So what was basically done? So even water is a greenhouse gas, and as we are discussing Rio, and we have been discussing Rio, in this slide also we'll read about Kyoto Protocol, and we'll also read something about the Earth Summit also. Why I got this explanation? Because I think that many questions can be asked, and we have already discussed it, but let us revise. This will help you revise the things as well. So at the Rio Earth Summit that held when, that we have already discussed, held in 1992, international negotiations were happening there, and this was a time when the adoption of the UNFCCC was done. What is the full form of this body? This is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So the UNFCCC aims to prevent that there is always the human interactions and interference with the climate system. By stabilizing the atmospheric conditions, these greenhouse gases can be stabilized and we can safeguard our Earth, right? So we need to put them at a safety level. So the UNFCCC itself has not set any mandatory limits for the greenhouse gas emissions for these individual countries that came into force, but there is a mechanism that they started, right? Instead, the UNFCCC provides updates that yes, this is the protocol that you have to follow. It sets mandatory emission limits that you can have. So they cannot say that this country has to produce this amount, but they can actually put limits there. So the Kyoto Protocol was adopted when? It was adopted in 1997, and it came into force when? It came into force in 2005. So it sets that the greenhouse gas emission reduction targets for the set industrialized countries that are the part of the Kyoto Protocol. So these targets have been implemented in the emission reduction commitment period. That is the first period from, what is the first period? We already discussed, it is from 2008 to 2012. And what is the second period? And here this is also called as the Doha Amendment. This is the period from 2013 to 2020. So more than 190 countries have become ratified and they have started to follow the Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol aims to cut the emission of the greenhouse gases. So they said that we'll develop a world where we limit the usage of these greenhouse gases. So they cut the greenhouse gas emission in the developed world by about 5% by 2012. Compared to which level? This is itself a PYQ. All of these are PYQs, right? You should know that this is the Doha Amendment, right? And by what level we are comparing? We are comparing it to the 1990 level. In India, the Kyoto Protocol was implemented when? It was implemented on February 2005. Right, so the Kyoto Protocol applies that there are 6 greenhouse gases and we have to curb them. What all are these 6 gases? These are the gases that were asked in the question as well. You should know the greenhouse gases, then only you can know that Kyoto Protocol being enacted for the limiting the greenhouse gases, that would definitely be the gases that were asked in the question, right? So we know that the Kyoto Protocol applies that there are 6 greenhouse gases. There is carbon dioxide. One very important thing about carbon dioxide, and you have to remember, yes, carbon dioxide becomes the first to be added when we talk about the greenhouse gases, but this gas is not included where? This is not included in the air quality index. So in AQI, you don't include carbon dioxide, and I am emphasizing it again and again because it itself is a PYQ and it has been asked about 3 to 4 times recently. So carbon dioxide is the first gas, the most important gas that they all decided to have been, that has to be curbed. So it is the most powerful greenhouse gas. Then you have methane, that is the CH4. Then you have nitrous oxide. then you have the hydrofluorocarbons, you have some perfluorocarbons, you have sulfur hexafluoride, and later of course the sulfur hexafluoride was added at this stage, right? So the Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, that is the IPCC, has been assisted that the UNCCC is setting these national goals, and this gives a summary for us that basically we have to protect the climate. So this summary was later adapted and the report was seen, and it was published and the sixth report came in 2021. Now all these things are not important, but one thing also that you should take out of this explanation is that, of course, all of these gases are causing what? They are causing the global warming to happen. So there is always a global warming potential index that is maintained. So the IPCCAR establishes that there are values for the global warming potential of the various greenhouse gases, and CO2 is at the number 1. So the GWP values describe that there is a radioactive effect given to all these greenhouse gases, and the unit 1 is given to CO2. So you should also know that. So according to the latest updates, the world has set the year 2050 as the threshold for achieving what? For achieving the net zero emission target. So zero emission target is what we are thriving, and we'll be doing it by 2050, right? So this is what I had, right? So I'll quickly revise what we have done in today's class. So I believe this was the first question. Yeah. So we had the first question, and in the first question we discussed that there is always nitrogen dioxide present in the atmosphere, and this is a polluting source. So from the polluting source you will find a nitrogen dioxide being produced. And how is it used, right? And from where do you get it? So we always get this kind of compounds because when this industrial synthesized process happens, there is always synthesis of nitric acids, and we get a large quantity of this nitrogen dioxide. Also, this nitrogen dioxide is used to produce fertilizers, and at high temperature the color of this gas would be reddish brown in color. Then we also know that high chances of the production of this gas is because of this photochemical reaction that we have, because of the unpaired electrons that combine with the UV rays, that is the protons, and because of this smog is produced. Then we discussed that how some of the waterborne diseases can be caused by the virus or by bacteria or by protozoa, and which is this disease that can be caused by all of these three, that is the diarrhea, right? And this can cause persistent problems in the human body. Then which is the basic type of power plant that can give you energy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? So this is the energy which is called as your geothermal energy, because other energy, yes, they are carbon free as well, but they are not that stable. Of course, your geothermal also comes with some limitations, like that can be in the deeper areas, digging can be a problem, too much digging can cause earthquakes. All of these problems come into consideration, but yes, it is a stable and a clean energy that is produced. So it is carbon free, it is reliable, and it is highly powerful in nature. Then we discussed that how there is the presence of nitrate always there whenever we talk about farming, because leaching can happen, and excess amount of water can also cause a lot of problem. Excess amount of usage of fertilizers can cause a lot of problem when we talk about the agriculture area. And what can happen, there can be significant concentration of the nitrate, which can cause a lot of pollution in your groundwater. Then we also discuss this question which talks about the greenhouse gases, and it says that which of these is a greenhouse gas. You can either think it in this way, or you should also know that Kyoto Protocol was for greenhouse gases. So you have to mark whatever do you think is included in the list given by them, that are the greenhouse gases. CO2 would definitely be the one that will always be there. So each you have to look first of all for B, and they are also smart enough to include B all at every point. And then there is the NO2, and wherever you don't find NO2, you can also mark it. Otherwise, you can have a different approach also, and you should know that SO2 will definitely be not there. You know, won't be there, and wherever you find A, you can strike it out. And we also know that NH3 is also not there as a greenhouse gas. So you can strike wherever D is also present. So with elimination also, you can come to this right answer. Then you should know that what all are the greenhouse gases that we have. We have carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, then we have the hydrofluorocarbons, we have the perfluorocarbons, we have the sulfur hexafluoride, nitrogen trifluoride, we have perfluorocarbons, we have fluorinated ether, and we have the perfluoroether, and we have the chlorofluorocarbons, right? We have the hydrochlorofluorocarbons as well. These two are also important. So when you know all of these gases, you will understand that this would be the right answer. Then we discussed how Kyoto Protocol is there for the greenhouse gases. There are 2 time periods for the Kyoto Protocol, that is from 2008 to 2012. From 2013 to 2020 came the second commitment period. This commitment period, they again met not Kyoto this time, not Kyoto but in Doha. Hence, it is also called as the Doha Amendment. They said that yes, we will reduce the emission of the greenhouse gases by 5% from 2012, and to which level they are comparing? To the industrial level, which is the 1990 levels. So this is what also Kyoto Protocol talks about 6 greenhouse gases, NO2, that is the carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride are the few gases that Kyoto Protocol said that we would be curbing, right? So this is what you should know. Also, one thing that you should gain out of it is that carbon dioxide, yes, it is the most reactive gas whenever we talk about the greenhouse gases, but it is not included in the AQI, in the air quality index, right? So I hope you like today's class. You like the effort that we are taking for you, and you are studying as well. So keep smiling, keep studying, and write in the comment section whatever questions I have asked from you. So thank you so much for attending the class.